As a coaster enthusiast, throughout your years of roller coaster riding, sometimes you come across a bad egg. Either the ride has seen better days or was a disaster from the start. In this video, I will discuss 10 different roller coasters that, if I had the power to do so,
destroy them.
Please note, not every roller coaster will be unanimously considered awful, so I just might recommend destroying your favorite ride. So you are warned. Oh, and this list isn't in any particular order. I didn't rank them from best to worst, just 10 different roller coasters. Alright, let's get crushing. Number 10, Gemini, Cedar Point. I'm sure my Cedar Point fans are crying foul right now, but I would be happy if Cedar Point announced that Gemini would close at the end of the season. This racing mine train coaster may have some fun airtime moments, but it also has some nasty transitions and a few unpleasant bumps along its course. The ride is also really old and outdated. Many aero coasters may be considered beloved, mostly because of nostalgia. Cedar Point would do themselves well by ridding of this old roller coaster and replacing it with a modern, more exciting, dueling roller coaster. Of course, whatever they replace it with should be able to match the same capacity that Gemini currently has. This ride has some of the best, if not best, capacity of any roller coaster in the park. Number 9, Anaconda, King's Dominion. If you've ridden Anaconda, you know why it's on this list. Anaconda is a really bad, rough, outdated aero coaster that needs to be destroyed. Let's be real here. Who actually rides this roller coaster when they go to King's Dominion? I don't think I will ever ride this coaster again. I mean, I won't say never, but yeah, it's the perfect candidate to go. Replace it with a modern looping roller coaster by Vekoma. That Lech coaster looks amazing. B&M, Mack Rides, or Intamin, or even a ground-up RMC would make a perfect replacement. Even a spinning Wild Mouse would be an improvement. Number 8, Predator. Six Flags Darien Lake. So, wasn't RMC supposed to have already converted this horrible ride? Predator is one of the roughest wooden coasters that I've been on. Sure, it has been some time since the last time that I've ridden it, but honestly, I think it would need to be completely retracted to be saved. But why do that? The layout isn't that exciting, it offers little airtime, the laterals are mediocre. Predator is only good if you want to get a headache for some reason, like you want to skip work or that you just don't want to go to that party, an excuse, who knows. Predator needs to be given the RMC treatment or the bulldozer. You decide. Number 7, Mind Eraser, Six Flags America. Everyone hates SLCs. I think it's like a requirement in the coaster community. Mind Eraser is up there as one of the worst SLCs that I've ever ridden. It has been some time since I've ridden a Vekoma SLC until this summer, and wow, they are not good at all. If it's not headbanging you to death, the ride feels like it's going to rip right off the tracks. This coaster is so rickety that you'd think that it's an old wooden coaster. Unfortunately for Six Flags America, Mind Eraser doesn't take up much space, so ripping it down isn't going to free up much space. But honestly, I think nothing is almost better. I'll take a nice family coaster over a Mind Eraser, so build something like a family boomerang coaster by Vekoma. I think that could fit in nicely on this piece of land. Number 6, Corkscrew, Cedar Point. Continuing on with the old, outdated aero coasters, Corkscrew is a ride that I never need to ride again when I go to Cedar Point. If it's not giving me whiplash, it's trying to break my back with its awful, uncomfortable train. The corkscrews at the end are the piece of resistance with all the headbanging. If Cedar Point were to remove this, honestly, they wouldn't have many options. Corkscrew has a small footprint, it's your typical out and back layout. I guess you could build like a Gerstlauer, maybe an interesting Mack coaster like Lost Gravity. I'm at a loss with what to replace with it, but all I know is I don't like to ride Corkscrew. Number 5, Vortex, Kings Island. These aero roller coasters are simply outdated. Let's be real here. The only reason I rode this one in the first place was for the credit. Sure, there's some built-in nostalgia with this ride, but I'm sorry, they don't hold up. Almost all aero looping coasters are littered with bad transitions, headbanging, bad designed restraints. I just don't look forward to riding one. Vortex sits on a nice piece of property and could be used for a modern looping coaster. Maybe a wing coaster by B&M, a Vekoma looping coaster, or a multi-inversion ride by Gerstlauer. Arguably, the park doesn't need to remove any of their attractions because Kings Island has a lot of land to work with, but regardless, it's time to let Vortex go. Number 4, Skyrocket Kennywood Park. Alright, Skyrocket isn't a bad roller coaster. In fact, I kinda like it. The first half of the ride is fun, loaded with unique elements like the cutback, and who doesn't like a good zero-G roll? The launch is also a decent launch, not super forceful, but fun. The second half, however, is quite possibly one of the more boring sections on any roller coaster. It's crazy how fast the excitement level of this roller coaster goes downhill near the end. The airtime hills, which they don't have airtime, and the weird zigzagging turns are pointless filler. I want this roller coaster removed so Premier Rides can give Kennywood something that we all can be happy with. Skyrocket is a pretty compact coaster, but I think we can rework it and turn it into something a little better. Honestly, I'd just argue to save the first half and remove the second. I'm fine with making it shorter if it improves the overall quality of the ride. Number 3, Boomerang. Coast to garbage. Any Boomerang coaster. Boomerang coasters aren't exactly bad, they're just not that good. It was cool the first time I rode one, but now that every theme park, grocery store, gas station has one of these coasters, it has overstayed its welcome. Most Boomerang coasters are plagued with headbanging, sudden stops, maybe throw in a little whiplash for good measure. Unfortunately, removing a Boomerang coaster isn't going to give you much space to work with. Your guests might thank you that now they don't have to endure a headache, but when a Boomerang coaster is removed, there's not many suitable coasters to replace it. Honestly, I would be happy if the parks would just start to remove them and not replace them with anything. It's just one less bad ride that I have to force myself to ride in the name of padding my coaster count, you could say. Number 2, Dark Knight, Six Flags Great Adventure. Quite possibly one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, gets turned into one of the lamest roller coasters of all time. I remember when this coaster was announced, I knew it was a wild mouse, so I wasn't expecting much. But this was the Dark Knight. The mock-up renderings they did for this ride made it look like they were going to go all out with the theming. But honestly, it's an overrated carnival ride inside a box. The theming isn't that great. In fact, it's kinda laughable. The queue area is done well, I'll give them that, but once you leave the station, the theming goes downhill fast. Great Adventure also has another indoor roller coaster, so it really doesn't need two. Gut this one or put the extra time into theming this coaster to match the movie it represents. Number 1, Goliath, Six Flags Magic Mountain. Technically not a bad roller coaster, this ride suffers from being, well, boring. Typically, hypercoasters are laden with airtime moments and exciting speeds. Goliath was taken down a slightly different path. Sure, the ride may have like one moment of airtime, and it does deliver some impressive speeds, but the ride layout is just a lot of turns and helixes. The first drop is probably the worst drop on any hypercoaster. It delivers no airtime and doesn't feel steep or intimidating. Six Flags Magic Mountain doesn't have a lot of space to work with and deserves a much better hypercoaster than what that was offered to them. I recommend gutting this roller coaster and replacing it with an intuitive Giga by Bolliger and Mabillard, B&M, or even go with another manufacturer like Mack Rides or Intamin. Both manufacturers seem to work well with unique plots of land and would come up with an exciting Hyper or Giga with the space currently occupied by Goliath. Well, there you have it. That's my top 10 list of coasters that I want destroyed. I hope by now that you figured out that this video was all in good fun. Some of my picks were less serious than others. So, did I miss any roller coasters that you want destroyed? Let me know in the comments below. As always, please subscribe, that way you won't miss out on more great content coming your way by X Scream Thrills.